Hi, everybody. It's Michael Angelo Caruso. Welcome to another episode of the Talk to Me podcast. I'm so glad you're with us today. With me is my good friend, Tim Schut. How are you, Tim?
Great. How are you?
Great. I'm so happy you're with me today. And I know you have a very unique story that we want to share. Before we get started, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, remember that you can watch the YouTube version, which is video. No matter what platform you're on, I'd like you to consider liking or commenting or sharing this podcast today with people that you love in your life, because Tim has a very important message for all of us. And only through hearing his story and understanding what he and his family are going through right now can you possibly hope to share with somebody and provide any nutrition to them. So this is a very special episode. Tim, I'm so grateful for you doing this, because I know we talked about doing it a while ago, but I don't think you were ready.
Right.
Before we get started, Tim, let's reminisce a little bit about how we got to know each other. What is your earliest memory? I'm not sure. I think it was about having me come in to speak. Is that how we first connected?
Yes. And it took 2 years. Just because of COVID.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Working at Premier Bank at the time, and you needed a speaker. Actually, it was for an association you belonged to.
Sales and marketing executive of Sioux Falls.
Yes. And we got you a twofer in the deal. When I came to South Dakota, I actually spoke to the sales and marketing people, and I spoke for your employer at the time, which was Premier Bank.
Right.
And you were so gracious to me. You shuttled me around and showed me the lay of the land. And I fondly remember sitting in a hotel lobby with you 10 feet apart, because it was, I think, the early throes of COVID.
Right.
And you might have caught COVID from another speaker that came to town.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Who shall remain nameless.
That's all right. That's all right. That person probably gave COVID to a lot of people.
Right.
Well, then something major happened in your life. Take us back through what's happened, and fasten your seatbelts, everybody. This is a hell of a story.
Right. So in the June of 2020, I was noticing that I was having problems getting words out. And that's just not me. So I talked to my dentist buddy, and I said, James, does it have anything to do with my teeth, my mouth, my tongue? He's like, no, you need to get that checked. So then I went to my regular doctor, and he prescribed speech therapy and a brain MRI. And the brain MRI came back clear. I continue on with speech therapy. And then 6 months later, we were still stumped. We thought it was stress. By that time, I'd left my job. So we knew it wasn't stress. So their neurology department did another brain MRI. It was clear. They tested me for everything under the sun. MS, Lyme disease. They pulled out all the stops. So they sent me to Mayo in Rochester, Minnesota, for ALS testing. I was fearful that it was ALS. I begged to do ALS testing in Sioux Falls. They're like, no, you need to do that at Mayo. So my original appointment was August 17th. I called every day at 8 a.m. to see if there was any cancellations. I got in June 21st at 7:30 in the morning. My wife and I drove out that Sunday evening, and then 7:30 Monday morning, the ALS doc said, I don't think you have ALS, but we're going to continue to do all the testing. And he said, I want you to sit in front of one of our speech pathologists. And so she happened to have a 9:30 appointment open that Monday morning. Within 45 minutes, she had me diagnosed. Primary progressive apraxia speech. Let's take that word by word. Primary means the speech is first affected. Progressive means it gets nothing but worse. Apraxia is when you know what to say, it just doesn't, the wires are messed up, and speech. So primary progressive apraxia speech. It's very rare, way less than the one in a million. So there's like 250, 300 people in the United States with this condition. I'm going to be part of the study. I was there in September as part of the study. There are only 28 people in the study. I'm the third youngest one. They've been studying this for 12 years, and they've only had 100 people through the study. They discovered this condition in 2010. What they found was people, they used to lump it in with aphasia, which is you don't know what to say. So there's a big difference between aphasia and apraxia. So they lumped it in with aphasia, and they discovered that people know what's going on. And so they diagnosed this subset in 2010. So back to the hospital, Mayo, we hadn't heard about it, nor had anybody else. My speech therapist had not heard about it. So we read up on it over the lunch hour and just went in the car and just cried. We were there for the whole week. So to continue with the ALS testing, and then they wanted some baseline numbers as far as this condition. And I was diagnosed with, it was confirmed by a PET scan on Wednesday morning. I took the PET scan.
Yeah.
They dumped all kind of radioactive stuff in me. And then Wednesday afternoon, it was confirmed. I had PPAOS.
Yeah. So just to frame this up, because sometimes it's hard to understand the time frames. You're referencing August and September right now. That would be over a year ago, or just recently?
Just recently, August of 2021. I was.
Okay, so just for our listeners, it's November now, so it was only 3 or 4 months ago that all
right. June 21st was diagnosed. I was diagnosed. The longest day of the year. The longest day of the year for me and my wife.
I'll bet. Right. So I can't imagine. I mean, I've had stuff where I didn't know what was wrong with me for a little while. Mm-hmm. Small stuff, it turns out. You know, when you don't know what it is, there's a lot of anxiety.
Right.
I can't imagine having an intractable, unsolvable, unidentified problem, and right. Then learning of the consequences of this condition. You mentioned that you did a lot of crying the day that you found out, but you haven't shared with us today the serious penalty of having this condition.
Right. My life expectancy is at 10 to 15 years. I'm 45 right now. I'm gonna not get to meet my grandkids. That just devastates me. So
break this down for us, Tim. You have this thing called apraxia that's getting worse all the time. It's robbing you of your speech, but somehow it's going to kill you.
Right.
How does that?
So I asked Mayo what the end game looks like, and they said you're going to lose the ability to swallow, and then aspiration into the lungs, and it causes infections. The other thing, falling down. I will have motor function skills, lack of skills towards the end. So
somehow speech, how the brain functions with regard to speech is directly can be chased to life expectancy through this condition called apraxia.
right, but because it says brain degenerative disease, so
Okay.
it eats the brain, and eventually there's
So the falling away of your speech is actually a symptom and an obvious one of what's
Right.
happening on the inside. Without that symptom, we might not have even known. I mean, you mentioned stress earlier, and you thought it was
Right.
job related.
Yep.
And we don't know what causes this primary progressive apraxia condition.
They don't know if it's hereditary or just the luck of the draw. There's no treatment, no cure, other than speech therapy, which I do once a month.
Do you feel like the speech therapy is helping at all?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Because Mayo told me four things: eat right, exercise, and stay social, and talk a lot.
Same thing they probably tell everybody.
Yeah, right. So I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, I know you started a podcast. Would you like to tell us how people can find it?
I'm working on a setting up website. It's called speechless.live. I haven't started yet, for full disclosure. I'm going to write a business book called Speechless after I get one done for my family. So speechless.live.
Okay. And I'll get these links into the show notes of this episode. I know you've asked me to be a guest on your upcoming podcast. I'd be honored.
Right.
I want to talk a bit more about the condition, and then we'll find out how the family's doing. You mentioned that you are the third youngest person to have it, or the third youngest person in the study.
Yes, correct.
Is it an older person's condition?
2/3 of people are diagnosed over age 65.
So that begs another question: is why Tim Schut at age 45?
No one knows.
Yeah. Okay. You had called me some time ago and thought, well, maybe I just need some presentation training. Maybe, but that's early stages, right? You thought maybe it was just speech related. We didn't know what was going on the inside.
Right. Exactly.
So we're seeing something in the scan, the brain scan, that says the brain is falling away.
Right. I'll show you my brain scan.
Oh. I think I might need to share my screen with you, but I'm happy to do that. Or allow you to show it. Oh, I see what you're doing. Hang on.
Yeah. Yellow and green is bad.
Oh. So I'm going to put you on a different view here. So would the average person not have any green?
No. Average person, not any green or yellow.
Oh my goodness. So tell us about your family. You've got some kids, you got a beautiful wife. How many children?
3 daughters, 11, 13, and 15. My beautiful wife I've been married to for 21 years. We're high school sweethearts. She went to South Dakota State. I went to Northern State. I always give her hard time. 10,000 students there. couldn't find anybody better than me, you weren't looking very hard.
How is the family coping with the news?
um, at least I have time. Car accident victims and heart attacks don't have time, so we're just making the most of it. I'm gonna do some videos for my daughters, and I also bought have right here twice a night before Christmas recordable for my grandkids.
Oh, that's sweet.
So we're just doing everything we can. We moved to a much smaller school. In fact, the school that my wife and I graduated from, and the girls just love it.
Yeah, you had a lot of life changes when you got the news.
Right.
Let's run it down. You left your job at Premier Bank. You were an executive there.
Mm-hmm.
You moved out of Sioux Falls out to the country.
Correct.
And so 45 years old, officially retired, found a forever home, apparently.
Right. I am still working part-time on real estate. During this whole process, I was getting my real estate license, and I've got a couple deals in the works.
Good.
Right now.
Good.
So I'm just so busy, Michael. I'm just so busy. I have a ton of things to do.
Yeah. Well, especially now that you have a new feeling about how time management, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about the time management piece in a minute, because I think there are lots of lessons people can pull from your situation, Tim, and I really do appreciate you sharing today. Before we move on to that, I wanted to find out a bit more about your 11, 13, and 15-year-old daughters.
Okay.
Do they process it the same?
No. My 11-year-old, for instance, said, my older sisters are going to get to spend more time with you. And that just destroyed me.
Because they're older.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's always the case, isn't it? The older one.
Right.
She'll work out that math later on.
Right.
But what she's saying at the heart of it is that maybe we won't have as much time with daddy as we thought. Mm-hmm. The other thing I was thinking about was 15 years is a long time in medicine and science.
Right. I've been told that.
I mean, think about how much gain there has been in certain things. I mean, they came up with a vaccine for COVID in 18 months.
Right.
Yeah. So what about time management? Do you think about how you do you do that? Do you think about how you spend your days or your hours or your minutes, all of the above? Right. Do you try not to think about it and just be in the moment? What's the ritual?
You're always thinking about it unless you're in the moment. I'm doing voice banking right now, where you download my voice to cloud, and then eventually it will download to ASC machine. Don't ask me what that stands for. It's essentially a tablet. Then I can talk in my own voice when I'm unable to talk.
This is a form of AI, artificial intelligence.
Right. So I have a sense of urgency to get that done, along with the books, recordable books. So I'm just doing everything I can with my voice while it's still good.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when you first told me, I said, well, if you ever feel like talking about this on the record, maybe we can help some other people. And at the time, and I might have misread you at the time, it was a very emotional call.
Right.
But I had the sense that you weren't ready for it at the time. You were still processing. But I feel like you might be in a better place today. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you're a good person. I hate to see this happen to anybody, but I especially hate to see a friend going through it. But it seems like you're handling it about as good as anybody can.
Yes.
What can, what lessons can people pull from this, Tim? Is it as simple as the obvious one that we should value every day, or have you
Right.
been able to come up with more nuanced versions of it, Tim Scott versions of it?
I was a financial planner back in the day for 16 years, 17 years. And I was always focusing on looking forward. And that's been a big change for me, not looking forward into the distant future, but appreciating every day. So that's been a major mind shift for me.
Yeah. You know, when I talk to young people, I often pose that, we don't call it a bar stool question when we talk to young people, but it's kind of a bar stool question, which is what's more important, the past, the present, or the future?
Right.
And the textbook answer for the kids is the future is more important. You should try to
Right.
avoid instant gratification, which is living in the present. And the kids, of course, they don't live in the past. They haven't had that much past to really revel in. Senior citizens tend to live in the past. Let me tell you a story about what happened when the last time I went bike riding, or, something. And most 45-year-olds are still in the future because they are doing things like financial planning, or
Right.
putting money away for the kids to go to college, or looking at next year's vacation, which you may
Right.
be doing as well.
Right.
But you've made that shift now from thinking about the future to not thinking about the future as much. Was that a
Right.
painful shift for you to, or do you find it somehow enjoyable to not worry about the future and just focus on the present?
I'd say a combination of both. It was painful for me, but now I kind of enjoy it because I've come to terms with it. But I go back to my former statement. At least I have a chance to say goodbye.
15,
At least that.
a 10 to 15 year chance,
Right.
maybe
Right.
longer.
Right.
Yeah. And your wife, how is she doing?
She thought we were going to spend retirement together, so she's severely disappointed. So we're going to add on to this house. And she's like, a house all to myself. You'll be gone, the kids be gone. Big house.
Yeah. She's kind of forced to reckon with what's next, right? Yeah. Well, she seems like a terrific person, and I know that you two are communicating in great ways, maybe ways that you never did before because of the situation.
Right.
Everybody finds their way. Have you thought about any other legacy projects? I know you're saving, you're banking your voice, you're recording for your grandkids.
Yeah. I am writing a book. I'm working through a local publisher here in Sioux Falls who has a process to write my life story. So I'm going to do that.
Okay. Sometimes when you get to be our age, people ask, do you have any advice for a high school student or a junior high student, or maybe somebody just starting out in the workplace? You'll probably come up with a whole Bible of those types of things before you're done. If I was a high school student and I asked you for that kind of advice, what would you tell me?
Right. Two things: set goals in the areas of personal, professional, family, and health, and journal.
So the set goals is maybe self-explanatory. Why is journaling so important?
Because I really regret not documenting my journey. Because because I'm having to go off of memory.
Yeah.
So
You have to recreate it after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
And with today's technology, they could put a blog up or something.
Yeah, there's a million ways to document now. You know, in the old days, it was pen and paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could, of course, keystroke it. And the good thing about keystroking your journal is it's word searchable. It's not as romantic, unfortunately, but at least the stuff's, you know, you can find the stuff and organize it and edit it if you care to. But even video, like just recording little thoughts that you have, you can transcribe it later. The video is available with all that expression later on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to do that. Podcasting.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being on today, man. These are nice little, I don't know, pauses in the normal routine for my listeners so that they can truly appreciate everything that they've got going. I think most of us wake up in the morning, Tim. This is the irony about life. We wake up in the morning and say, woe is me.
Right.
I got to vacuum the car today.
Mm-hmm.
Or, damn it, it's snowing. I got to go shovel snow. No matter what's going on in our day, on any given day, it's always an inconvenience. It's bad news. But things could be a shit ton worse.
Right. Right.
And your diagnosis could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Every doctor in Mayo said at least do have ALS. Because that's 2.5 to 5 years to demise.
ALS was Lou Gehrig's disease as well?
Yes, correct.
That's the one where like your lungs fail first, I think, and you kind of fail up to your head, right?
Right. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the progression.
Yeah.
I do know a lady that her husband had ALS, and he lost his speech first. My speech therapist, after the fact, after the diagnosis, said, "I thought you had ALS."
Yeah.
So,
well, I know that the not being able to come up with words bothers you a lot, but I think you're doing terrific. I can slightly notice it, you know, in certain sentences but it's probably a lot more troubling for you than it is for other people. You keep communicating. You're a terrific person. I've always liked your style. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Michael.
My pleasure. And I'm happy to reciprocate when you get your podcast together. Perfect. I'll put the links that you talked about in show notes so that everybody can access you and follow you moving forward, Tim. Mm-hmm. You're a gift, man. I so appreciate our friendship.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.